Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. If you are here to learn more about OneDrive, you are in the right place. Today with me, I have Rafael Supa, who is one of the managers of our infrastructure team and one of our top go-to people to learn more about a lot of our Microsoft Office 365 tools. Before we get started, welcome to everybody who's new or has joined us before. I do have everyone on mute just because we expect a lot of people to sign on today, and we just want to prevent any background noises while the presentation's going on. So if you do have any questions at any point during the session, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll be stopping periodically just to make sure we answer all of them. We're also recording today's session, so if there's anything you missed that you want to go back and review or even share with some of your colleagues who may not be using OneDrive yet, we'll be sending a follow-up email after the session is over. It'll have a link to the recording as well as some other links that we talk about today. So you can go back and look at some OneDrive resources to help you get started with the tool. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Rafael. Thanks so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you so much for that intro, Vanessa. I appreciate it. So first of all, just to double check, can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay, and can you see the screen that I'm sharing with the slide?
Yep. Looking good.
Okay, great. So thank you again. And once again, my name is Rafael Supa. I'm part of the O365 email and collaboration team at Weill Cornell. My team supports all aspects of O365. And one of the things we support is OneDrive for Business. So welcome to this Tech Tuesday session. This session will be focused on OneDrive for Business. And we'll start with an overview of what OneDrive for Business is, who has it, how to access it, some of the main benefits, etc. So with that in mind, let's kick it off. So again, just a brief agenda for this session. It should take about half an hour to 35 minutes. We'll cover in basics of what OneDrive for Business is and some of the main benefits. Again, how to access it on various platforms and devices. We'll go over some of the web portal features, sharing options for both internal sharing as well as the available external guest sharing, the built-in sync app or sync agent as it's sometimes called, and the various settings within that. File Explorer view in Windows. We'll briefly mention Mac as well, although I don't have a Mac to demo on today. The functions are pretty similar. The Files on Demand feature, how OneDrive integrates with other Office applications, and hopefully we'll get to demo a little bit of document real-time collaboration as well. So again, what is Microsoft OneDrive for Business, right? You may have heard the name. There's also Microsoft just plain old OneDrive. So both are secure cloud-based services for storing, sharing, and collaborating files and folders. So in essence, Microsoft's version of a cloud-based storage solution. The OneDrive that you may have at home, connected to your Hotmail account or Outlook.com account is known as the consumer version. And what we have at Weill Cornell is OneDrive for Business, which is sort of the business level or institutional level offering, which has slightly different features. Many of them are the same. It is, again, part of our overall O365 suite of services. So anyone who has a mailbox and other O365 features also has OneDrive for Business. It's accessible from anywhere, any device. So since it is a cloud-based service, the beauty of it is that anything you store is stored in the cloud securely. And if you travel or work remotely, work from different locations, or even lose a PC or device and sign into another one, you can always pull down your data and pretty much work from anywhere. It does offer 5 terabytes of cloud storage for each account at Weill Cornell Medicine. So this is an improvement. It used to be 1 terabyte. It's now 5 terabytes. It's also approved by our security team for PHI and other sensitive data. So with storing, any HIPAA-related info is fine. and it does offer external sharing capability with specific domains. So we'll go into it a little bit later, but there's a list of existing external partners and entities that we can already share with, and new requests can be submitted as well for review and approval for new domain sharing. So again, just to summarize, some of the main benefits of OneDrive for Business include being able to store and organize your work and documents securely in the cloud, sharing of documents with coworkers and external entities, and synchronizing those documents from the cloud to your computer. So you can always work offline. If you're traveling and not connected to the internet, you can have an offline copy on the PC or Mac, which will then sync to the cloud as soon as a connection is available. So just to summarize the PowerPoint slides, and after this, we'll go right into a demo. So most of the presentation will be demo-based. How do we access OneDrive for Business? So as I mentioned, everyone who has an O365 account at Weill Cornell already has access to OneDrive for Business as well. So we all have accounts. The easiest way to access it is right from the O365 web portal. So this would be your O365 landing page where you can access all of the O365 apps and services, and it's a good place to start with OneDrive as well. If you have a Windows PC, it's built in by default as far as the Sync Agent app. All you have to do is sign in. So that goes for Windows 10, Windows 11 devices. If you have a Mac, you can download the Sync app from our internal Jamf app or Jamf application store, or the Apple App Store. If you have an iOS device, similarly, you can go to the App Store and download the agent, the software. Just look for OneDrive or OneDrive for Business. Android, same thing, the Android Marketplace or Google Play. Okay, so with that, we'll launch into our demo. Just go ahead and stop my video for the time being. So as I mentioned, the great place to start with OneDrive for Business is your O365 landing page. So in this case, I've already logged into my account. So this is my O365 homepage, and I can either launch OneDrive by going to a shortcut icon link. If I don't see it, then I can go to what's known as the waffle icon for the apps. And typically, you would see all your applications here, clicking on OneDrive. Once you do that, and of course, signing into O365, if you are off-site and not on the VPN, you will be prompted for Duo, your password, and a Duo prompt, which you'll have to fill in. If you're on-site or on VPN, just the password. So in this case, I've logged into my OneDrive for Business web application, and this is what it looks like. And again, it's a good place to start to see what you have already synced. If you are syncing, begin to organize or even share documents. So just to briefly go over the environment here, again, in the top left is your O365 and OneDrive title page. You can access jump to other O365 apps from here. You have a search bar, which will allow you to search for specific documents or files. And as you build up, a good amount of files and folders, you may find it useful to search for them to become easier to find. You can go into the gear icon to look at specific settings for OneDrive, and you'll see things like your storage quota, use storage, notification settings, and so on. So that's a useful place to go to. And help icon and your profile icon just to make sure that you're signed into the right account. Okay, going down the left side, you can always use the home button to go back to the main page, which is this. And let's do that now. So the home page is really a place for your most recent documents. So anything that you've worked on recently or has been shared with you recently will be shown here. And then you can filter the view by specifying Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, etc., specific, specific document types in essence, to make the view a little bit more clear, because it can become a little bit cluttered, as you work in OneDrive. You can also go ahead and start new documents to initiate, the creation of new documents, or upload existing documents or folders from your PC into the cloud. So this would be one good way of getting documents into OneDrive. My Files is where your folder structure, your primary folder structure will be held. So anything that you've set up for syncing, so for example, attachments, desktop, documents, these are default folders, and other ones are ones that you may have customized or added to sync. So this is the folder structure. You also have shared, which is a screen that will show you documents that are shared with you and shared by you. So as you work in the OneDrive environment, you'll find that a lot of times you may share things with other people. Other people have shared items with you, and this is a good place to see, those items that have been shared, to quickly locate them. And again, if it gets a little bit cluttered, you can always use the search. You can also use the filtering option over here on the upper right side. Filter the amount of items, filter by type, specific people, search criteria, etc. So good place to filter this if it does get a little bit cluttered. And finally, we have the recycle bin, which is just like any other recycle bin. I believe it's good for 30 days worth of data. So if you have moved or deleted something by accident from your OneDrive account, you can always go back here, look in the recycle bin, and if it's within 30 days, you can get that data back. Going down this side here, we have the quick access area, and you may find things here that don't look like part of your OneDrive data, and that's just because the way O365 integrates our various services. So for example, if you use Teams or SharePoint sites or other O365 services, they have data too, and it's really all part of the O365 ecosystem. So for example, if you're a member of a team and members have shared certain documents in that team, you would see those documents here as well, as sort of like a quick access or shortcut way of seeing them. It doesn't mean that they're your OneDrive items specifically, but you may have collaborated on them, either shared to other people, or they have shared with you as part of a team or other O365 service. Let's go back to My Files real quick. So again, if we are in the My Files area, we can create documents, as I've mentioned, right? So all the different document types. This will open a web app version of the document editing. You can upload files or folders. The sync button would initiate the sync agent to sync any changes back to your PC or Mac if you're syncing files locally. And automate is something it's a little out of scope for this conversation. I think it may be part of a different Tech Tuesday, but there are services in O365 for automation and workflows and things like that, and that's where you can do that sort of thing. When you look at your files and folders list over here, there are some things you can do by selecting certain folders or documents. So for example, If I select attachments, I can then go ahead and get a contextual menu. I can share, copy, manage access, get more information, details, for example. I see details of who has access. I can jump to managing access and any recent activity. So, if you're looking to track any specific changes to a file or folder, you can do that here. Okay, similar with specific file, you can jump to the sharing icon. So you can go to share a file with specific people or groups. You can see the details of sharing. Okay, so again, it opens up the detail tab over here on the right side, and pretty neat because it gives you a quick glimpse of the document. So a little document preview, how many views, who has access, if it's been shared out already. And this is pretty cool. It gives you any activity on the document, right? So if you're looking to track changes or see who who made the last edits, you can quickly see that here. More details on the document, such as the document type, last modified, the path, size, etc. So pretty useful info. So real quick demo. Let's say I wanted to create a new document and share it with someone. I would go to new. Let's choose an Excel document again. In this case, it'll open up a web office editor window. Okay, and I can just put in some test data here, just as an example. And to name it, we'd go to the title bar over here and give it a name. Oop. There we go. Okay, so now I have my document, and it's saved automatically. There's no save button in the web app view of Excel. So if I wanted to close it out, all I need to do is close the tab, and all the data is saved. And shortly, I should see my document here. If I don't, I can always refresh my screen. Tech Tuesday Test 3, there it is. And I have my document. So let's say now that I do want to share it out, I'll go ahead and click the sharing shortcut. And in this case, I'll share with Vanessa. So I can start typing in her name. And by the way, you can choose individual names, or you can choose groups if you want to share with an entire group that's already in O365. And we can answer questions on that later on as well. And you can also change the permissions. So very basic permissions. We have editor, view, and that's pretty much it. So the recipient can view the document, be a viewer of the data, or an editor. So in this case, let's make sure that editor is turned on. And choose Vanessa again. You can include a quick message, because they will get an email with the link and the summary of what you're collaborating on with them. So leave them a message, and you can also copy the link for later to send to other people. But in this case, let's just hit send. And Vanessa should shortly get an email message summarizing what we're doing with that collaboration. So as I mentioned, we have both internal and external sharing available. So let's say that we were interested in sharing this externally as well. We can go back to the sharing shortcut. And again, very easy to share internally. And if the external partner is already on our approved domains list, which, by the way, does include, our major partner institutions. So NYP, Columbia, Cornell University, a bunch of others are already on the approved list, as well as any EDU. So any educational institution is already pre-approved. You can pretty much share with any other school. If it's more of a private institution, then that's not on the approved list. You can submit a ticket, and that would be reviewed and added for you later on. So let's say it's someone at Cornell University. I don't need to know the exact email address, but just as a demo, it's an EDU. So I would type in the person's Cornell address. Obviously it's just a demo. I'm not going to go through it, but it would have to be an actual working email at Cornell. I would select it, select the permission level, and click send. So just like you could share with internal folks at Weill Cornell, you could share externally as well. And in this case, I'll just cancel it out. Okay, I'll pause there, Vanessa. Are there any burning questions coming in? Take a pause.
Yeah, we have a ton of questions actually. For one from Fanny, do we need a tag computer to use to use OneDrive? So I know that we don't need to use a tag computer if we access the web version, which is what you're using now on o365.weill.cornell.edu. But if I wanted to download one of the apps that you mentioned earlier, would it need to be on a tag device?
Oh, that is a great question. Yes, thank you. So it kind of depends. So if it's a Windows PC, it does have to be tagged and domain joined to the Weill Cornell AD domain. Then you can go ahead and install the Weill Cornell version of OneDrive for Business, with your login. If you don't, then you could still use it. You could use the web-based app like I've been showing up till now, with some manual workarounds for syncing and uploading files and documents. On a Mac, you can use the sync agent no matter what. And on mobile devices, the OneDrive for Business app will also work. So the only limitation really is a Windows PC that's not domain joined or not tagged.
As a follow-up to that, we had a question from Patricia who says, when you say that OneDrive is built in by default for PC, where exactly would they find that?
Okay, so if you don't see it in your icon bar that's near the where the clock usually is, the small icons, you can click on the search near the start button. Just start typing in OneDrive and it should pop up. If not, if you're having any issue with that, I would recommend just submitting a quick ticket and somebody will help you.
Great. I'm not sure if you plan to talk about this with sync at all, but once you create a OneDrive folder, can you synchronize the same folder with two computers?
So if you have two computers and the folder has the same name, I would have to look into that. I think, yeah, it should work just fine because you can have multiple devices, with OneDrive. So that should be fine. If you have something like let's say the desktop on multiple devices, and you're backing up your desktop icons from multiple, let's say PCs, I think the folders may get a suffix, for the specific PC, but otherwise it should be fine.
Great. Is SharePoint the same as OneDrive? I can see your URL on the screen is SharePoint when you've been opening those files. Can you describe, why that's happening and what the difference is between those two applications?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So that's really good observation. So OneDrive and SharePoint are definitely very tightly related. SharePoint is the underlying technology that is being used. OneDrive is meant for personal storage, so that's why it says -my SharePoint. So it's basically like a private, personal storage area that sits on top of SharePoint. If you were to use the full SharePoint, like a SharePoint team site, SharePoint storage, that is meant for more of a team collaboration, work group or department level collaboration where you can share documents and files among many people. OneDrive, that's a great point. I forgot to mention that the use case for it is really meant to replace like a home drive, right? So a person's more personal, more private data that would involve, some sharing. Definitely could share, but probably not, very widespread like departmental sharing. In that case, SharePoint would be better.
Got it. We have a lot of questions about how, like, whether multiple people can work in a file at once, if they can do it live. I don't know if you want to show the test file you just did. I did make an edit in there, but I can also like play around in there so people can see how the live editing works.
Yeah, sure. So let me go ahead and open this again. And in this case, I opened it in the web app. So if you can see can you still see my screen, Vanessa?
Yes.
All right, so I'm seeing like a bubble, on the cell that you're editing, and I see your initials. So that's cool. It's telling me that, someone else is editing the document. In this case, it's you. And I'm gonna say I'm editing over here. So I'm sure when I was editing, you see the same thing on your side, right? Like a bubble tip for what I was
Yeah, it's
doing.
like if you get a text message and there's like the 3 little dots that kind of indicate that somebody is typing at that moment. Is there a recommendation that you have when people are, I guess multiple people are editing a document, like just to make sure maybe somebody's not editing over somebody else's work, or if there's a way to go back just in case there's like an issue where somebody may have overwritten something that shouldn't have been?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would definitely, recommend, just syncing up with your work group, with your team, and or whoever you shared with. That, probably not great to have like 10 people editing all at once. If it's a couple of people or 3, and sort of not stepping on each other, that would be great. I could definitely see how issues could happen if too many people edit at once. But if you do run into that issue, I believe you can go into the version history, right? So if you go to File and Info and Version History, you'll see all the changes that were done and tracked, and you can always revert to one of the older versions.
Awesome. Do you want to keep going ahead with questions? Did you have, I just didn't want to interrupt your demo part. We can keep going if you want, or if you want to move on to the next section, and we can stop again if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I know we're kind of running short on time and there's a bunch more stuff to talk about. So I think I'll go ahead and continue real quick, and we'll pause again for questions at the end.
Yeah.
So just to kind of finish up talking about the web portal, and as far as, moving documents over here. So like I mentioned, you can use the upload button to upload files or folders. You can also drag and drop, right? So from your Windows File Explorer screen, let me just open one up real quick. So so let's say I had my Explorer here and my web view here. I should be able to grab this document and just copy it over here by dragging and dropping. Just wanted to show that. So, okay. So that pretty much is everything about the web portal. Let me go over and switch now to the Windows File Explorer and Windows, syncing agent views. So for that, I think what I'll have to do is to stop sharing quickly and restart it. So just bear with me 1 second. So I mentioned that the Sync agent is installed on Windows PCs. And Vanessa, I'm sorry if you could just confirm for me that you're seeing like my main
Oh yeah,
screen with
everything
icons.
looks
Okay.
good.
Okay, awesome. Just wanted to make sure. So the OneDrive icons would be here. As I mentioned, this is, I think it's known as the taskbar or icon area in Windows. So you may have a couple. So in this case, I have two. The white one is typically another account. So in this case, I have a personal account as well. And the official Weill Cornell one is the blue icon. So when you see that, clearly that means that OneDrive is installed and working. You can also right-click on the icon to go into some of the settings and controls. So, quickly, the main thing you'll see is some of the recent documents that have been synced. So it's just showing you that sync is working correctly and what has been synced. You can also choose to open folder, and in that case, that'll open the actual folder location, the local folders on your PC that are part of syncing. View online will put you back into the online OneDrive portal, and recycle bin, very, very similar to what we saw in the web site for OneDrive, where you can access your recycle bin. The gear icon will take you to settings. So this is something that's improved lately over the older view of OneDrive settings. So you can pretty quickly go here and see information about what's being synced, what's being backed up. So for example, you can go to manage backup, which is a way to back up, let's say, your desktop icons and then any information from your profile and other things. You can control whether OneDrive starts when you log into Windows, pause syncing, pause when you are on a limited network. Clicking on advanced settings, you can go into making sure that file collaboration is turned on. So, obviously we would want this on. Files on demand will be on by default as well. And just to review what this is saying that OneDrive will free up space on my PC and store most things in the cloud, right? So I'll still see the files and, if it's pictures or folders, I'll see representations of those things on my PC, just like they really exist, but it's really just a pointer to the cloud, which saves all the space that file would take, because it's not being stored on your PC, it's being stored in the cloud. Okay, and then you have other settings as far as controlling the download and upload rates and et cetera. You can go into your account settings, and in this case, I see how much data my Med.Cornell account is using on the PC and in the cloud. And you can also control notifications for OneDrive. So, some pretty useful settings in the OneDrive app controls. And once again, this will be set up when you initially log in, when you start OneDrive, and your first initial time of logging in and having sync configured will choose some of the default folders, from the PC that are synced to the cloud if you have never set it up yet. So that's why, in my case, some folders were already there. So in this case, let's go ahead and open folder, and I'll bring this to the sharing area. So when I clicked on open folder, it shows me the actual location of my OneDrive Med.Cornell documents as they appear on my PC. So similar to working with the website, except this is just, in Windows file folder view, which a lot of folks are used to. And again, this is also a great way of, organizing and viewing your data, so your folders. If I wanted to create new folders, create files, or move them around, organize them, right? This may be a quicker way than doing it in the web portal, especially if maybe I'm not online at that time. I can do this locally, just like with any other files or folders on a PC. So kind of that familiar, Windows File Explorer view. So from here, I see files, folders in my OneDrive area. I see icons. So just to go over what the icons mean, if I'm seeing a cloud next to the file or folder, that means that the data is stored in the cloud only. I'm still seeing it. I could still access it, but it's not taking up any space on my PC at all. If I see a green circle with a check mark, that means that it is stored locally. It's still synced to the cloud, but I also have a full local copy downloaded. And let's say I didn't want that, right? Let's say I wanted to free up that space. I can right click, and the area for controlling OneDrive settings is usually headed by where the cloud icon is. So I can view online, go to settings, and here choose always keep on this device or free up space. If I choose to free up space, that'll go ahead and start the syncing process to sync that folder to the cloud and only leave a pointer for me. So it's fully in the cloud now. And if I have two arrows, that means that things are in process of being synced right now. I could also see maybe a person icon next to a specific file or folder, and that means that it's being shared. So again, just like we went into the sharing options in the web portal, we can also go into sharing options in the File Explorer view. So for example, the file that we shared with Vanessa earlier, I can right click and again go to my OneDrive area, which is only the items here in this part. And I can go ahead and manage access, and it'll bring up the very familiar, sharing and access control dialog that we saw earlier. So I can go ahead and stop sharing. I can copy the link, and I can add more people to access if I want. There's a slight difference also. There's something called direct access versus the link. And it's a little bit of a nuanced difference, but has more to do with the way that SharePoint permissions the actual site, underneath all this in the background. But giving people a link usually works fine in most cases. So yeah, I want to be wary of time, Vanessa. So I don't know if we want to maybe pause there and see if there are any other questions. That pretty much rounds out what we can do.
Will all folders on my PC with the green check sign be automatically linked to OneDrive Cloud after use?
Yeah, if they're in your OneDrive folder and they have a green check sign, that means that they're fully on your PC and in the cloud, but they are synced, as long as they're in this folder.
Someone is asking, how safe is OneDrive? I'm assuming that's in terms of like keeping your data safe. Could you talk a little about maybe some security parameters that are in place for OneDrive?
Oh, sure. So, our security team has reviewed, O365 in general, all of the services that we use. OneDrive is one of them. So it's secured by the same methods that our other O365 data is secured, right? Our mailbox, SharePoint, and other services. So it's secured by our passwords. It's secured by a Duo, two-factor authentication. Along with various security controls that are on Microsoft side, in their cloud environment. So it's deemed to be secure enough for sensitive files.
Thank you. There's a question here from Jess. I might have to send you a follow-up link for this. Can you guide us on how to adjust OneDrive settings on a Mac? I know you're not on a Mac, Rafael, and I don't know if you can say anything about it, but I can always look up this information, Jess, and send it to you in a follow-up email. So you have the link on where to go for settings in a Mac. Let me see. I'm experiencing issues with the OneDrive files syncing. I'm experiencing issues with the OneDrive file syncing without having to enter the app in the web browser and press sync each time I log into my laptop or create a new document. Is there something that like a best practice in that regard, Rafael?
Definitely want to make sure that the sync agent is running, that you're seeing the cloud icon, whether and I'm sorry, I didn't catch if that's on a PC or a Mac, but on a Mac you would see the cloud icon as well, just in the in the upper toolbar area, right? On Mac OS as opposed to down here. But either way, you should see it, and you should see that it's working and has been updating files recently. If you don't, you may need to log in again or just open a ticket, and somebody will be happy to help.
That might also have to do with this question. I logged into my OneDrive file or OneDrive on a desktop, and a folder that was shared with me has a red X under status and shows as empty, but they can see it in the web version. How can they push it to sync? Does that also apply to maybe this type of issue as well?
It could, yeah. I mean, it could also be more on the person who's sharing it. I think they mentioned that this folder is being shared with them, so it could be an issue, with at the source, right? Whoever's sharing it. Otherwise, it could, you can ask the original person that's sharing to maybe unshare, redo it. Otherwise, again, if you can open a ticket for further analysis, that'd be great.
This has to do with collaborating in files. What if someone left without saving, but the file's open on their desktop, and I am working on a file and I save it? It auto syncs, correct? Like it auto saves rather, whether you are saving it or not, like manually. Any file you work on in OneDrive is auto saving, correct?
Oh yes, and that's that applies to the web applications, of 365 as well as the full one. So as an example, let me just open up this Tech Tuesday test document, in my full Outlook application here, right? So because these documents are now stored in OneDrive, you should see that the autosave button is always on, right? Because it's working with OneDrive. So autosave should be by default. You should not have to save. If you do want to force a save, you can click on the disk drive icon here and force a sync or a save. But otherwise, it's up to date. It keeps saving as you go. So yeah, that document should be up to date. And just quickly, I wanted to run this by everyone as well, that when you are now working within your OneDrive environment, opening up files in Office apps, you may notice that when you go to open or let's say save or save a copy, it kind of it likes working with OneDrive, right? It presents the OneDrive options or SharePoint or other O365 areas by default, right? So you can continue to save these documents in OneDrive easily, right? Excel is already aware of that. So you can go to more options to change the folders or create a new folder, but it has all your recents and all the cloud locations that you've been saving to by default. And yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that even from the full Excel or other, Office apps, you can go to share as well. So, these sharing dialog boxes are available, throughout the environment, so you can continue sharing as well as in Outlook, right? So, for example, if I go to a new message and wanted to share it with you, Vanessa, this way instead, right? I can go ahead and go to insert, attach file. It'll show me my recent documents, even if they're in the cloud, right? So I can choose it from here or choose from browse web locations, select my OneDrive, and I'll be pointed to my OneDrive folder and insert. I'll say I want a link, right? Because I want to keep saving space. Maybe this is a large document. I'll do link only. And as soon as I do this, Vanessa will get permissions to work, edit, or I can change it to view or edit. This could be changed right here. And the permissions will be applied during this attachment and sending without me doing any other permissioning. So I just wanted to quickly throw that in as well.
I don't think I knew that you could send an attachment that way. Thank you. I actually appreciate that. There are a couple of questions about both how long a file might stay floating around in OneDrive after you delete it, or is there a way to retrieve an online file that may have accidentally been deleted? Is that possible with OneDrive?
So it goes back to the recycle bin, I believe is the best bet. So this here. So I believe the limit is 30 days, but it could be more. We can get back to you on that. But yeah, if you made any mistakes or deleted something or it's not there, definitely check the recycle bin first.
And if you could just show, I know we're a little over, if you have time, Rafael, to answer a couple
Sure.
more questions. Somebody just wanted a quick recap of if they've already shared a file with somebody, how could they go back if they wanted to remember who they share the file with?
Okay, yeah, I think the best place to do that would be, from your OneDrive web portal or landing page. If you go to shared, and again, you'll see things that have been shared with you, in other words, by other people or shared by you. And you should see that file or folder here. And if you don't, if it's a little crowded, then you can always use the search button or the, I think there should be some filtering information here as well. If not, yeah, I would definitely use the search bar.
And when you click on those files, for example, does it say like who you shared it with? Like, is there information about like the actual people or the groups you may have shared it with?
Yep, I believe so. So you can, click on the file.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
The sharing, see details. That's one way to do it. Clicking on the ellipses and then clicking on manage access is another way. This shows you everyone who has direct access, as well as any sharing links. So I mentioned those differences. They're slightly nuanced, but either way, it'll show you who has access.
I think you showed this a little earlier. Abby asked, is it possible to duplicate a document? I believe I saw you share in the file, like save a copy to do a duplicate. Is there another way that might be possible?
So the save a copy is kind of like save as, for other types of documents. It will save a document with another name, based on the initial document that you created. But if you, if you wanted to make a copy of a document, I think one good way is through Windows Explorer. Just right clicking and you can do copy and then paste in the same area. It'll get a slightly different name. That's one way to do it. Let me see if there's a quick way to do it in the web portal. I guess you can copy to, that'd be a different location. Yeah, I would definitely say that the Windows way is probably the easiest.
Okay. And then really quick question. If you're sharing a document with somebody from an external institution, do they need to have OneDrive to access the account, or will they be able or to access the file, or will they be able to see it?
They don't need OneDrive or a specific O365 account. They will get basically the web-based view into the document.
And I think I'm going to end with this one. Some of your questions, they look like to be personal use case scenarios. So I'm gonna go back with Rafael and try to maybe talk with him about potentially resolving some of these, or maybe sending some guides that could help. But somebody wanted to know, what are the advantages of OneDrive over Box? So I'll end it with that one.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, obviously they're kind of similar. They allow for cloud-based storage and collaboration, but I believe that Box is not approved for external collaboration, especially not for sensitive data, and OneDrive is.
All righty. Thank you for everyone staying with us a little after to answer some of these questions and to learn some more about OneDrive. I'm going to wrap it up, but I will be going through all the questions and sending up any follow-up information that I can through that email at the end of the day that'll have the video recording. And if you have any other questions, feel free to just hit reply, and we'll help the best that we can. But I do want to thank Rafael for taking the time to show us more about OneDrive and answer all of your questions. And have a really great afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you.